Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Chris Buckley, and I am part of the I-405 Improvement Project Community Outreach Team. I'm here with Nikki Wright, and we'd like to thank you for joining us today. For this online meeting, we'll be providing a brief update on the project and on the next stage of activities at the Westminster Boulevard Bridge. First, though, a little housekeeping. Nikki?
Thanks, Chris. Hello, everyone. Here are a few things to keep in mind for the meeting. If you get disconnected, just hit the reconnect button on your screen, and that will bring you right back to the webinar. After the presentation, we'll have a Q&A session, and you can submit your questions at any time in the chat box. We have a few resources for you under the Files section, and those include the bridge fact sheet, our bridge map and fast facts, our latest Westminster Bridge FAQ, and that's in 3 languages. We also have our Express Lanes FAQ and the Express Lanes Access Map. So you can download those PDFs at any time during the presentation. And under the Offers section, there's a link to sign up for project alerts. You can sign up for project-wide alerts where we share all of the major activities and the closures. And then you can also sign up for bridge-specific alerts. We'll be conducting a few instant polls during the presentation. So please participate in those if you can, and those will pop up in the polls section. We'll also be sending out an electronic survey after the meeting, and we'd really appreciate your feedback. We'd like to acknowledge an additional team members who are working in the background today to make the webinar run smoothly, and they are Joey Fernandez, Jessica Stock, Anna Finlay, and Vivian Liu. They'll be managing your questions, doing any research needed, and communicating with the audience via the chat box. And finally, we want to let you know that the meeting is being recorded and will be available by 4 p.m. tomorrow on our project website, which is octa.net/405improvement. So if you know anyone that wasn't able to join us tonight, please tell them to head over to our website and check out the video. And I will lead us into our first poll now. So please take a moment to participate in our first poll in the poll section. We'd like to know how you found out about this webinar.
Excellent. Thanks, Nikki. Now we'd like to provide a brief overview and status update on the project, and then we'll talk a little bit more about what's coming up at Westminster Boulevard. So in this first slide on the left, you can see the project limits are from approximately State Route 73 in Costa Mesa to Interstate 605 in Seal Beach. That's a length of about 16 miles. On the right, you'll see that 1 regular lane will be added in each direction of the 405, and that's consistent with Measure M, as shown in yellow. And then an additional lane will be added in each direction that will combine with the existing carpool lane to provide dual express lanes from State Route 73 to Interstate 605, as shown in green. On this next slide, you can see some of the major features of the project. We're replacing 18 bridges as part of the project, widening 4 others, and constructing a new express lanes connector between SR 73 and I-405. We're also building more than 150 walls throughout the project area, and there will be new bike lanes and sidewalks on all the new bridges. The overall cost of the project is approximately $2.08 billion. And next, Nikki's going to provide a brief update on construction activities. Nikki?
All right, we are very excited to share that the project hit a major milestone a few months ago, and we passed the 50% complete mark for the project. The next several slides we're going to show you shows construction progress. So more than half the walls that are part of the project are under construction or completed. And these 2 photos reflect the aesthetic patterns being placed on retaining walls and sound walls. And most of the project walls will be completed by the end of this year. Thank you. This slide shows some of the concrete pavement being placed to accommodate the wider freeway. So significant paving will take place this year for the freeway widening and where we are realigning on and off ramps. Here, the construction crews are performing a large concrete pour at the Bolsa Bridge to complete the bridge deck for the first half of the bridge. This view also just provides some perspective on the significant size and complexity of these new bridges that go over the widened freeway. The new McFadden Bridge was completed back in October, and we were excited to open this key bridge that links both Westminster and Huntington Beach. And looking ahead further into this year, it will continue to be a busy time for bridges, walls, and pavement construction. This slide just shows you some of the upcoming bridge milestones that we anticipate this year. Crews have been shifting traffic to the first half of the Westminster Bridge, which Chris will talk a little bit more about in a bit. And the first half of the Fairview Bridge is anticipated to open in February. The Talbot Bridge is anticipated to fully open this spring, and that will allow us to start reconstruction of the Ward Bridge shortly thereafter. The first half of the Bolsa Bridge is anticipated to open early summer, and the Magnolia Bridge is anticipated to be the first two-stage bridge that will fully open to traffic this summer. Opening that bridge, Magnolia, allows us to start the reconstruction of the Warner Bridge this summer as well. And several other bridges are anticipated to be completed in the second half of this year, including the Heil Pedestrian Bridge and the Edwards, Bolsa Chica, and Golden West bridges. The next slide shows our bridge map, which is one of the files you may download, and it's also available on our website. In green, the 3 bridge replacements that are completed and now open to traffic are McFadden, Bouchard, and Slater. And by around the end of this year, we anticipate having a total of 9 of the 18 bridge replacements complete and fully open to traffic. The only bridges that haven't started yet are shown in red, and the construction is anticipated to start on those later this year or early next in 2022. Next, Chris will share a little bit about the latest on the Westminster Bridge and what to expect in the coming months.
Thanks, Nikki. So as you likely have seen, eastbound traffic has been switched onto the new Westminster Bridge, right? This view of the bridge, by the way, is looking eastbound. So you can see southbound 405 goes to the right, northbound 405 goes to the left here, and looking eastbound across over the bridge. So this traffic switch was broken into 2 phases to accommodate the need to raise the center median on Westminster Boulevard to the new bridge elevation. So the first half of the traffic switch occurred last week on January 12th. And since then, crews have been working on that center median. The second half of the traffic switch is set for the night of January 27th, with westbound traffic moving to the new bridge by 6 a.m. January 28th. That's the plan at this time. We don't expect it to change, but if it does, we'll notify the public. Once the switch is completed, crews will move quickly to demolish the remainder of the old bridge. After demolition, the general process is to build the bridge abutments. I apologize. The first thing, of course, is to build the foundation. That includes pile driving on each side of the roadway, each side of the freeway, and in the center area, in the center median area where the bridge columns are going to go. Once that foundation work is done and we're out of the ground, then the crews will start to work on the bridge abutments. Those are the large concrete structures supporting each side of the bridge. After that, and maybe simultaneously too, it depends on how much room they have, they'll be working on the bridge center columns. Following that, you'll start to see false work going up. This is that temporary steel beam and timber structure that is used to support the superstructure of the bridge as it's being constructed. That superstructure and deck, that's that horizontal bridge component that spans the entire freeway. Once that's completed, they will drop the false work down a little bit and then remove it. There's a certain amount of cure time that's required for that. After that, you'll see they'll construct the bridge barriers on each side. So as you're walking along the bridge, there's a barrier on either side of the bridge with a chain link fence, decorative fence on top of that. And then they'll also be building what are called the approaches, which are concrete approaches that connect to the actual bridge through joints. These are expansion joints to allow for the contraction and expansion of the bridge during hot weather, right? And then they'll also pour the sidewalks, the curbs and gutters. They'll pave the roadway. They'll perform the electrical work, make sure everything's tied in, and they'll do the striping. That's a pretty long process. At this point, it's anticipated to take up to 18 months. So that means the second half of the bridge will open to traffic in mid-2022. So as you can see on this slide also, there are long-term ramp closures in place. That's for the 2 loop off-ramps to Westminster Boulevard. These long-term closures, one started in April of last year, and it's expected to open later this year. That's the northbound loop off-ramp. And one is the southbound loop off-ramp, and that closed in August of last year and is expected to open up in August of this year. These long-term closures, they reduce the number of construction stages and traffic switches for the ramps. We realize that's not really convenient for everybody, but ultimately it minimizes the impact on motorists. Meanwhile, the southbound on-ramp, which closed earlier this month, that's set to reopen in its new configuration in mid-February. And later this month, a temporary on-ramp to northbound 405 will be constructed. It's actually under construction now. It should open as part of the phase 2 bridge construction work and to accommodate construction of the new northbound on-ramp. An important note on that, later this spring, that temporary ramp also will be closed for a little over a month. That's to allow crews to complete the new on-ramp and continue working on phase 2 bridge construction. The outreach team will notify the community ahead of time about this closure and the planned detour. So ultimately, what that means is you'll have to take a detour to get to northbound 405. You won't be able to access it from Westminster Boulevard. That's for a little over a month. After that month-long closure, the temporary ramp will be gone. The new permanent northbound on-ramp will open to traffic, and we'll be away on that. That's all I have for the Westminster Bridge update. Now Nikki is going to wrap up our presentation with some details about our engagement strategies and how to stay connected with the project.
Okay, so as you can see on this slide, we connect with the community in a variety of ways, both by using in-print and electronically canvassed information. For majority of activities like bridge demolition or pile driving, we like to distribute flyers to addresses within about a half a mile of the bridge. We also send out regular updates by email and on social media, and you can find major closure and detour information on our interactive map, which can be found at octa.net/405map. And that same information is also available on the navigation app Waze, and you can download our mobile project app in the Apple Store or in Google Play as well. And while we like in-person discussions the best for major updates like this, we will be continuing to conduct these and all other meetings virtually for the foreseeable future for safety reasons, of course. If you ever have any specific questions or concerns, you may call our project helplines or email us at 405project@octa.net. If we don't have an answer for you right away, we will work with our colleagues in the technical team to get you one. And now please take a moment for our second poll. In the poll section, please let us know what is the best way for you to receive construction updates in the poll section.
All right, with that, we'd like to begin the Q&A portion of the meeting. Nikki, what's our first question?
All right, it looks like our first question is from John, and I will broadcast it here. And he's asking if we have a rendering that we can share of what the 405 Westminster and Springdale intersection or area would look like after everything is complete.
So I have a slide that we showed. It wasn't a slide at the time because we were holding in-person meetings, but it's a board that shows the ultimate configuration of Westminster. It doesn't necessarily focus on Westminster and Springdale. So if that's the the specific area you're looking for, we might need to do a little bit more work to pull that together for you. I'm just pulling this up, and I'll try to share my screen shortly here. Alrighty, here we go. Let's give it just a moment. My apologies. You should be seeing it shortly. There we go. Share the screen. Here's this, and let's share. So hopefully now you can see on the screen what's going on. I'll try to zoom in a little bit to the Springdale, Westminster area. In this case, north is actually to the right, northwest. Let me try to zoom in a little bit. Hopefully that will help. So as you can see, and I'm not sure how well, let's try to zoom in a little bit more. Bear with me, I appreciate it. Hopefully this gives you a good sense of things, right? So, and we can share this, by the way, we'll provide this to the folks who've attended this meeting. We'll follow up with a Q&A, and we'll provide this information. It says draft, but I believe this has been solidified by this time. This was from a meeting we had in 2019. So I'm going to pull the whiteboard up and do a little drawing on the screen here. Hopefully you can see. So here's the intersection that you're asking about, John. And as you can see here, the Springdale comes in. You've got the Springdale off-ramp coming in right here, as you would expect. You've got Westminster, Springdale coming across. You've got 3 lanes coming across the bridge. Could somebody take a look, by the way, at our fast facts and tell me? I think it's we're talking about 6 lanes all the way across on Westminster for the most part on the bridge portion. So we'll take a look at that. But you can see that we've got 4 lanes, but 2 of them on eastbound Westminster are for left turns onto Springdale. And then for westbound Westminster, it's 2 through lanes and 2 left turn lanes. You probably can't see it quite as well as I can on the screen. Again, we will have this. We'll have this for you. There will be, and I think we talked about this. I think that I need to look into this before I commit to that. Accessing the northbound on ramp will change. As you can see, the old northbound, and I'm going to clear this. This is the old northbound on ramp. Once it's open in its new configuration, you'll be turning right here and moving on to the northbound freeway. I believe you'll be able to turn left as well from here onto, and this is the southbound on ramp, not the northbound. So you'll be able to turn onto the southbound freeway. And then I'm going to zoom out and sort of move this around a little bit. Bear with me.
And the team in the background while you're zooming in was confirmed 6 lanes on Westminster.
Excellent. So I think the other thing we want to confirm is whether we can make this left turn. Sorry, this is a PowerPoint slide and it's not cooperating with me as much as I would like. We want to confirm that we can make, whether we can or cannot make a left turn from westbound Westminster to the southbound on-ramp. So that's an important question we want to answer. But this should give you a sense of things for the intersection of Westminster and Springdale. Again, we'll provide this as well. It'll accompany our Q&A when we respond to all these questions. We'll capture all of that in the Q&A and add this as an attachment, and it'll be emailed to everybody who signed up for the webinar. And if, of course, you have additional questions about the configuration here, just let us know. I'll try to answer them. I think I noticed one. Question in there about sort of the overall configuration. So I'll talk a little bit more about that as well. And in fact, Nikki, can you take us to the next question, please, while I move this down a little bit?
Sure. Our next question is from Jessica, and it is, will there be carpool lanes?
All right. So great question. The answer to that question is no, there will not be carpool lanes. The current carpool lanes will be combined with the new express lanes to form, with the new center lane to form the express lanes. So the way that's going to work is it will be, for the first 3.5 years, any driver, any vehicle with 3 or more in the vehicle will ride for free. And during off-peak hours, anybody with 2 or more in the vehicle will drive free in those express lanes. And then solo drivers can choose to use the lane, or 2 in a car during peak hours can choose to use the lane, to use the lanes, and they will pay a toll. And that toll right now is expected to range from off-peak hours as low as 50 cents all the way up to about $10 for the entire 16 miles of the express lanes. And after 2.5, or I think it actually might be 3.5 years, and all this information, by the way, is available. Nikki can follow up in the file section. There's a Q&A on the express lanes and a map that shows the ingress and egress points, the access points. But after 3.5 years, it'll only be 3 and above free in a vehicle, no tolls to pay, and then 2 or fewer in a vehicle will pay a toll. This is a similar situation to what we have on the 91 freeway, and we do find that solo drivers do choose to use the lane. A lot of people are concerned about the loss of the HOV lane, if you will. It's important to remember that we're adding 2 lanes in each direction on this project. It's not just one. The 2 lanes are 1 regular lane, no toll involved, and then 1 inside lane that's, again, going to combine with the current HOV lane and form the express lanes. So the impact there, and I'll just come back on the screen here, the impact there is that you alleviate traffic in the regular lanes, and you improve traffic flow and address some of the greenhouse gas emission concerns at the state and federal level by implementing the managed lanes in the center of the freeway. So hopefully that answers your question. Thank you, Jessica.
And yes, Chris, that is in our Express Lanes FAQ in the file section, and it's also available on our website too.
Very good.
All right, the next question is from Tim, and he's asking, why do you use aesthetic designs for the walls when taggers will just hit them all within a short time and cover up with painting and destroy the multicolored look of the dual brick wall?
Right, Tim, that's a great question, and there is a lot of concern about taggers. If you've been out there, you've seen they've even tagged the new walls. It's for me as a citizen and a taxpayer, it's very frustrating to see that work be on the walls. That said, the textured concrete block and the aesthetics are actually meant to deter the tagging. This is a Caltrans standard that we're going with, and there is a coating on the walls that makes it easier for us to remove the tagging. I believe there are some locations where it's being covered up, and we're trying to ensure we match it, match the the existing color of the walls so that it doesn't look like a hodgepodge. But it is seriously a problem, and we work closely with CHP. We work closely with Caltrans to try to get it addressed as quickly as possible. The contractor for the duration of this project is responsible for maintaining the corridor, the project corridor. So they work to cover it up as quickly as possible. And we work with CHP on enforcement issues. But as you may know already, it's very difficult to catch these taggers.
And Tim also followed up with, why not just cover the walls with vines so that taggers can't get to them? There's no need to paint them, and the plants will increase the sound suppression capabilities of the wall.
Sure. Well, I think that's a good point that you're making. The problem that we have with most of these walls is there's not really any room to install landscaping. And even if there were, there isn't the infrastructure or room to install the infrastructure for irrigation. So that's a pretty significant issue. A lot of times you'll see that these new walls, we've had to rebuild them because we needed to extend the roadway out to exactly where they are. That's not necessarily the case. I think we'll have to take a look at the final configuration. I'm looking at the drawing that's up on the screen, and I know this wall by Westminster Cafe has been tagged, but I believe the roadway comes pretty close up to it. So it makes it difficult for us to install landscaping. And the landscaping really doesn't have sound suppression capabilities. It's not noise attenuating. Caltrans standards really say that the sound walls themselves are the only noise attenuating facilities along the project corridor.
All right. Next, we had a lovely comment from Robert. Great update. Thanks. Thank you for joining us, Robert.
Yes.
And then a question from Corinne. I know the current traffic design on the Bolsa Chica Bridge is temporary, but I travel that way every day, and going south on Bolsa Chica is really dangerous at the light to make a left onto Garden Grove Boulevard. Any plans to make it safer between now and when it fully opens?
Yeah, thank you, Corinne, for that question. It is something that we are tracking very closely. It is not a traffic configuration that it's temporary, as you note. It's not something we can change at this time. It's meant to address the volume and flow through there. The real difficulty we have is drivers not following the law, right? So it's in part an enforcement issue. Westminster PD, Garden Grove PD, they are out there to the greatest extent possible. But really, it's about motorists flouting the vehicle code and not doing what they're supposed to. But we keep a close eye on it, and if there is any way to modify it, we discuss that on a regular basis with the city. We meet with the city of Westminster on a regular basis to address that and other questions and project concerns. And if there is any way to make changes, we will. I think what we'll do is take note of your comment as well. We'll go back to our technical team, discuss with them what's been done to date and whether there are any ideas about improving that location. And we'll include that in the Q&A that we send to this group of people. Thank you for that question.
All right. Next, we have Jackie, who has a question about the carpool lanes. Will there be carpool lanes on the on-ramp?
Will there be carpool lanes on the on-ramp?
Wondering if maybe you mean...
There will be access points, I think, is what you're talking about. Nikki, go ahead and take that one, please. The access points, is that what we're talking about?
I was just going to ask Jackie, maybe if you could clarify if you mean which on-ramp and if you mean access points or actual carpool lanes that are provided.
Jackie, clarify for us, if you will, but I think you may be talking about the dedicated carpool lanes that are on the on-ramps where part of the ramp is metered and part of the ramp is carpool only. And if that's your question, the answer is no, it won't be set up that way. The ramps will be metered, but there isn't going to be, I think Caltrans is moving away from that standard of carpool only lanes where you sort of slip by. We'll take a look just to make sure. We'll check with our technical team, and that is another question that we'll include on our Q&A. So if that is your question, the answer is no, there won't be carpool only lanes on the on-ramps.
And then Tim just said, thanks for your responses. I like the look of the new walls and hopefully they won't remain unmarred. We hope that too.
Yeah, Tim, I think my next job is going to be, patrolling this beautiful new freeway construction. And, I don't know. I don't want to approach taggers necessarily, but certainly call it out for for CHP, for enforcement issues, because it really bothers me. It's so hard to see on this new construction. It's so hard to see on any construction, and of course, as you must feel, as I do, it devalues the area, devalues the work, devalues the effort the crews put in, and it devalues the community.
Yes, we don't have any more. I know it takes a few minutes to type in your question. Going through, I don't believe I missed any. So we'll just wait maybe to see if other people think of questions that you may have. Please type them into the chat box. And our team is reaching out on the back end regarding just to get more clarification from our technical team about the carpool lane on the ramps. Oh, we do have another one now. All right, Judith. Let's see here. Oh, and Connie also had another question. So I'll go with Connie first.
I think that's Corinne.
Corinne, yes, thank you. I need to make my screen bigger.
There we go. So Corinne says, getting onto the southbound 405 at Westminster is always very busy and backs up quite a bit west of Springdale. Yes, it is problematic. I've taken it many times, in fact. With the new on-ramp being at the top of the new bridge, will there be a designated right-hand turn lane to get onto the freeway? I believe the answer to that question is yes, but let's go back to this shared screen I had. Bear with me. You're going to have to look at my ugly mug just for a little bit while I zoom into this area, because I don't want to have to frustrate all of you with this. All right, so now I'm going to share my screen again. And hopefully this is zoomed in enough for you. As you can see here, we've got this dedicated lane right here. Whoops, that didn't look very good. So it's right here all the way through, and it's a dedicated right turn lane here. That's a very terrible drawing. I'm drawing with my mouse, so I apologize. But the answer to your question is yes, there is going to be a dedicated turn lane onto the freeway from Springdale.
All right, and just to follow up on the back end, our technical team doesn't know offhand for the carpool lane on the ramps. You stumped us. So we're gonna get a little more research going on that one and follow up. And
I'm gonna go out on a limb. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say they won't be there, and we'll see what happens. Okay. But what I would like is if our team could help us on this potential left turn lane from westbound Westminster onto the freeway. I'd really like to know before the end of the meeting if that's going to happen, if that's part of the plan here. I'm gonna turn off the whiteboard, stop sharing my screen, come back.
All right, and while they're looking that up, we have a question from Judith. 405 southbound off-ramp to Springdale is very dangerous. People are not seeing the signal. What about the Amazon warehouse off Catella and Holder? How will it impact Springdale? There's large truck and trailer traffic on Springdale. There's a warning on Springdale Street at Westminster, the end of truck, and they're going westbound and eastbound.
So a multi-part question there, Judith. Thank you for that. The off-ramp at Springdale is difficult. There is a temporary light there. It's not in the final configuration, and it is tough. You'll see some work coming up there as we move toward working on the Springdale Bridge itself. That you'll see some adjustments to the intersection again. It's a temporary configuration. We are aware that it's a new traffic pattern. Despite it's been in place for a few months now, it's still a new traffic pattern for a lot of drivers, and people aren't necessarily paying attention to the way it's set up, or I shouldn't say they're not paying attention. I should say that they're not accustomed to the way it's being set up, the way it's been set up. So we continue to evaluate that. The city has certainly raised that concern several times with us, and we are partnering with them on a regular basis to make sure that any issues that we see there can be addressed. The specific element about the Amazon warehouse off Catella and Holder, I don't really have information about that. I don't know what the impacts will be. I do know that each of the ramps is designated, and again, we'll turn to the technical team for help on this one. But each of the ramps is designated. There are truck routes throughout the city. There are a certain level of trucks permitted on ramps. I think all ramps are generally allowed a certain level of truck. There are oversized loads that require permits from the state before they can use particular ramps. I don't know what the status will be of the Springdale off ramp for that purpose, but it's certainly going to be, I believe, the ramp that people use to get to westbound, obviously to get to Springdale, but also to get to westbound Westminster. And I think that means Catella is in the other direction, if I'm not mistaken. Catella is actually east from Westminster. So most of those trucks would be getting off at the southbound loop off ramp, which I showed you earlier, and I can show you again if you'd like to see it. And that is where they will loop off and then make a right turn to go onto eastbound Westminster to get to Catella. So I don't think the Springdale ramp will be affected by the Amazon facility. I hope that helps. Again, we'll look into that to make sure we've got it correct, and we'll follow up on our Q&A.
And then while we're waiting for some more questions to come in, the technical team confirmed for us that there's no left-hand turn to southbound 405 from westbound Westminster.
There is no left turn lane from,
no.
Okay, onto the southbound 405. Got it. So I think we need to answer that question then. Will it continue to be, as it is today, a U-turn at Springdale? Also, our response to Corinne, I don't believe is correct, or it's not complete. It says, yes, there's a dedicated turn lane onto the freeway from Springdale. I do believe there is a dedicated right turn lane from Springdale onto eastbound Westminster. But yes, there is, and then that goes into the dedicated turn lane for the ramp itself. But the dedicated turn lane is from eastbound Westminster onto the southbound on ramp. So let's just clarify that.
All right, I will wait for a response from the team for that. We don't have any other questions, so we'll see. And I got a message saying there are left turn lanes, but only to southbound Springdale.
Got it. Yeah, so that makes sense. So you won't be able to cross traffic on Westminster to get onto the southbound freeway. So I would imagine it is going to be a similar situation as it is today, where you'll be able to make a U-turn to get to the southbound freeway. And likely the design of that is obviously for safety and because of the amount of area, the constraints, sort of where we have to build, we couldn't we don't want to take private property. We want to avoid that to the greatest extent possible, which we've done on this project. So we need more room probably to have a different configuration at that interchange and allow people access across lanes.
And we are still researching on the legal U-turn.
Sounds good. Yeah, we want to make sure it's a legal U-turn. I'm going to go ahead again, though, and turn my camera off and share the configuration here. Right, and we shall zoom into it. And that's because I want to talk about the other section, the other part of the bridge and the interchange. So back here, and I'm going to scroll down a bit, as you can see. So this area here is the northbound loop on-ramp and the northbound the northbound loop off ramp and the northbound on ramp. I'm going to turn the whiteboard back on and do a little drawing here. So this is that new off ramp, goes under the bridge, loops around, and you can see, I'm going to remove my drawing there, my pen marks, and you can see that it's actually got 3 lanes. It ultimately opens up into 3 lanes, right? 2 of those are going to be right turn lanes onto westbound Westminster, and 1 will be a left turn lane onto eastbound Westminster, right? And then I'm going to move this over a little bit, and you'll notice, so the plan here is coming over to Willow. That off ramp that's currently at Willow will go away. So right now it's the only ramp that is available from the northbound freeway to get off and access Westminster Boulevard in either direction. But ultimately that ramp will be closed. And you can see here, right, Willow will come back to being a cul-de-sac, as shown here. And this ramp, this hatched mark, shows you that the ramp will be closed. And that will alleviate traffic at this intersection right here. And the volume on that off-ramp is such that it can be accommodated by this left turn lane right here. So that will be very helpful. And again, you'll be able to get off on the other side. You'll be able to off the southbound. It'll be a loop on ramp. You'll come to a similar T like this on the southbound side and turn right from there. Do we have any other questions?
Yes. I think Judith is just clarifying for us based on her comment about truck traffic. Traffic on Springdale is truck and trailer on the north side of Springdale. On the northbound direction. I see. Yes, I see. I understand. That's a great question then, because that opens up the possibility of, depending on where Holder is, I'm not very familiar with the location of that street, but it opens up the possibility of trucks exiting at Springdale to turn left, go over the freeway, and get to Catella that way, is I think what I'm, accessing it that way, which I think is what you're saying, Judith. So we will have to take a look at that. And I think we have another question about Springdale itself. Yes, from Jackie. Will there be any additional work on Springdale overpass? And if so, when?
Jackie, yes, there will. The Springdale overpass it also will be reconstructed. And you can see in the files section, we have our not our fact sheet. You can use that, but the best tool is the bridge construction map. And if you take a look at that, you download it, you can open it up and see when the plan is for that one. I believe work on that is anticipated. I can actually probably pull that up myself. Bear with me, and sorry for all the noise with the mouse clicking here.
I want to be wherever that is.
Ah, yes. I'm still sharing my screen, right?
Yes.
Let's go back to that. We'll put our, we'll put us on there. Let's see. So Springdale looks like it's going to start again toward the end of this year, early next year. And then it is anticipated to be completed in mid-2023. That's the plan for that bridge.
All right.
I hope that was helpful.
And John had a question. Will there be a signal light for the 405 North exit, especially for those who need to make a left turn?
Yes. Yes, sir. Yes, there will. Yep, there will be a signal. That intersection that I showed earlier will be signalized. Let me pull it back up. We'll zoom into it. All right, so we're talking about this intersection right here. And yes, it will be signalized. Yeah, we wouldn't try to force traffic going, making a left and crossing the Westminster traffic. We wouldn't force them to be in a position to have to manage the traffic flow there. So definitely we'll have a signal there. Great question.
And we're all caught up on questions again. So we'll just, Tim had a question here, just came through.
Sounds good.
He says, we just had a tragic accident where someone fell over the low barrier on the Springdale overpass. I assume there will be high fencing on both sides of Westminster and Springdale when the project is complete. Can a similar barrier be erected on the Springdale overpass of the 22 freeway? Right now, it's quite low.
Yes, Tim, we did hear about that. And yes, very tragic incident. There will be, on all of the bridges, to meet Caltrans standards, there's a concrete barrier and then fencing on top of that. It's a very tight fence, and it's covered in plastic, right? So it's you can't climb to the top of it. I mean, if somebody were determined to, they could, but it for safety reasons would address a situation like this, presumably. With respect to the 22 freeway, there aren't any plans that I know of to make any changes to the 22 freeway at this time. That question would be best addressed to Caltrans to see if there are any plans to, say, retrofit the Springdale Bridge over the 22 or any of the other ones to see if they might make some changes. We can supply you with that. We can supply you with that information on the chat here. The contact information for Caltrans.
Oops. Could you hear me? Sorry, I think I was muted that whole time.
No, yeah.
Our next question is from Ron, and he said, can you review the Willow exit northbound?
Sure, I'm going to zoom into that, so bear with me for just a moment. So that's front and center right now. This is the Willow off-ramp. This is the current off-ramp. So where the hash marks are, that's the current off-ramp. In the final configuration, that off-ramp goes away. The volume on that off-ramp can be accommodated by the new northbound loop off-ramp that's being constructed, right? And ultimately, as I mentioned, and I'll scroll over to that right now just a little bit so you can see. Right, so that's now in the field of view. You can see on this is that signalized intersection I was talking about earlier. You can see that there's the left turn lane here, right? And then 2 right turn lanes to accommodate traffic flow this way. That will handle the volume that typically comes on this ramp, northbound off ramp. And it will improve traffic tremendously on Willow Lane. for those of us who want to get to any of the industrial properties here, or of course, one of my favorite places, In-N-Out Burger, my son's as well. So that'll make it easier for that. And this intersection will have some improvements as well. I'm drawing some funny figures on this, so I'm going to clear that. There we go. But hopefully that answers your question about Willow Lane.
And now I'm hungry for In-N-Out.
There you go.
We don't have any more questions, so maybe while we wait, we can put up our final poll.
Sounds great. I'm going to go back to the last slide. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Go back to the last slide so that people can see all of our project contact information.
Perfect. And our last poll, thank you so much for participating in the poll section. We'd just like to know, how did this work for you? Would you like to see more virtual meetings for our construction updates?
I did want to acknowledge also that the City of Westminster is online with us as well. We're happy to have them. They've been great partners on the project. They have been great representatives on behalf of their residents and business owners during the project, making sure we get everything clear and try to get the latest information out there. Also making sure we get the latest information out to emergency responders when it comes to any kind of lane closures or full closures of ramps and streets and the freeway. So you've got great representation there for you.
Yes, agreed. We did get another question from Jackie. Will Westminster Bridge be completed before they start Springdale?
The answer to that question, Jackie, and I'm looking at the schedule, is that Westminster Phase 2 is anticipated to be completed summer of 2022. Springdale is likely expected to start after that. Let me see if I can get more exact information on Westminster on when it's expected to begin. I've got another document that I need to take a look at, so bear with me for that. Meanwhile, do not forget to take that poll.
Yes. And we did get another question while you're looking at that one that I think I can go ahead and take from William. Will Springdale Bridge be removed or just widened? So it will be widened as part of the project. All of the bridges that we are taking down and rebuilding are widened. Some do have the same amount of lanes as they did before. And I'm going to bring us back to, so this one just shows our bridges, sorry, but we have a fast facts also in our files that has this information, plus a little bit more about how many lanes the bridges currently have, how many they will have after construction, and then we will be adding sidewalks where there wasn't sidewalks before and bike lanes where there wasn't bike lanes before. So if you go check out our file section, you can find out how many lanes for each bridge, and I can pull up right now to see what Springdale has. And Springdale will has 4 and will have 4, but it will just be slightly wider as far as like number of feet wider, because we are widening the freeway underneath. We are taking down the columns, and so in order to accommodate the widened freeway, we have to rebuild all the bridges and then make the bridges a little bit wider, put in new columns, new bridge. But it will be 4 lanes total, so 2 in each direction. There's currently a northbound sidewalk only, but there will be northbound and southbound sidewalks, so sidewalks in each direction. It currently doesn't have any bike lanes, but we are adding bike lanes in both directions. So hopefully that answers your question.
All right, and I'm just taking a look now to see, get a sense of the Springdale Bridge. And it looks like that bridge will begin before, we'll need to verify, but I believe it's going to begin before Westminster Phase 2 has been completed. Westminster Phase 2 is anticipated to open to traffic in mid 2022, June-ish 2022. I say summer because we always have a disclaimer, you know, whenever it comes to these schedules, because so many things can affect the schedule. And it looks like the Springdale Street Bridge is anticipated to begin in early 2022, possibly January 2022. I always, again, am going to put that disclaimer in there. It may say January 2022, but something may adjust, something may change. But right now, we do look like we have overlap. It's important to remember that Westminster Bridge will remain, as it has been this whole time, 2 lanes in each direction. And it will continue to get, you know, obviously crews will be working on the second half, but we will always do our very best to maintain that 2 lanes in each direction. Sometimes we may do lane reductions, typically at night, in order to accomplish some work there. But generally speaking, you will always have 2 lanes in each direction. Thank you for that question.
All right. And Ron just said, great job, more virtual updates. Thank you, Ron. And then I think we have just one last question from Tim. The new map shows Springdale will be closed completely during construction. An earlier map showed it would be open through construction. Which will it be?
Yeah, Tim, great question. So we have updated the map. What you have here is the latest version. And in an effort to ensure we get this project completed, we're always looking on time. We're always looking for ways to mitigate the schedule, right? To tighten up that schedule. Right now, the project is expected to be completed in late 2023. And we want to make sure that we meet that schedule no matter what kinds of delays that we come across, whether you know, site conditions make some changes. So the City of Westminster has worked with us to allow us to change Springdale to a 1-stage construction bridge from a 2-stage construction bridge. That will reduce the amount of time it takes to rebuild the bridge, and which is better for the community in general. And it also will allow us to, therefore, tighten up our construction schedule and meet it. So at this time, it will be closed during construction. But again, there will be 2 lanes in each direction still available on the Westminster Boulevard Bridge at that time.
Okay.
That helps.
I don't think we have any more questions.
I think Tim has another one for us.
Just saw that. Thank you. I'll
share
that now.
Yeah, so the question that Tim has is, when we close Springdale, will traffic be diverted down Navajo Road from Springdale? That will radically impact the neighborhood. Yeah, especially people take Milton, or you know, want to sort of cut through to Westminster. So Tim, I don't have the specifics right now of the detour plan, but the city has been adamant about the importance of not routing traffic through residential neighborhoods. We do realize that will have a tremendous impact. What our effort will always be is to, and I should mention too, there was a discussion prior to the start of construction with all of our city partners and others to ensure that they approved of the planned detours for whenever something was going to be closed. And the transportation management plan for the closure of Springdale would be modified to account for the fact that it will be constructed in one stage, and traffic will not be directed to residential communities. That said, people may still use those streets, and we will figure out ways to strongly discourage it. One of the methods that we use, of course, is to hit it out there digitally and to let people know via, we have a couple of methods digitally. We have our social media ads, and we have something called geofencing. Those are location-based ads that show up on your phone or tablet. And even if you're driving through the area, they'll show up. There's a little sort of token that's put on your phone, and those ads will show up when you're back at home playing a game on your phone, something like that, and it will talk about the detours. So we'll hit very hard digitally on that. Also, our closures and detours are all placed into our interactive map and into Waze. So rather than having the crowdsourced information put into Waze, it is the algorithm is set up to take our input, the project input, and we only put approved detours in there that, again, will not run down residential streets. So Waze will direct motorists who use that navigation app to use major arterials for the detours. I can anticipate, based on experience at other bridges, that there will be some people who use Navajo, and we will coordinate with the city to address that through enforcement. We will continue, again, doing our level best on the outreach side to get the message across. And then, I'm a fan of those spike strips. So no, I'm just kidding. We can't do that. Hope that answers your question. It is a very good one. We will work hard to make sure that you don't have detoured traffic on residential streets in your community.
Okay, I think that was truly the last question. If you think of something else after we've ended, please email us or call us. And I think that's it for this evening. Thank you for your time. Have a great evening and stay safe.
Thank you. Appreciate it as well. Have a great night.